I am Madam Wang, a 49-year-old woman. My stepmother entered our home in the spring of 1984. One day, while father and I were preparing corn to be sold at the market, our neighbor's aunt brought a woman over. My father quickly washed his hands and ushered them into the house. I was a bit puzzled about who was the woman. After a while, the aunt came and whispered to me that this person would be my stepmother. Back then, I was still too young to fully comprehend what a stepmother was. All I knew was stepmothers were often portrayed as harsh and unkind. I stood there, feeling fear and worried that difficult times might be ahead. At the age of 7, my parents divorced. Throughout my memory, they had argued incessantly. The final blow came when my father lost control and struck my mother. The next day, she filed for divorce. I begged her not to leave, but she explained that she couldn't endure it anymore. We both wept as she left. Not long after, my mother remarried and went on to have 3 children in a neighboring village. Occasionally, I caught glimpses of her from a distance when my father took me to the market. He would always walk away, preventing me from approaching her. My father shouldered the roles of both parents, even learning to cook. When stepmother arrived, I was wary of her for the first 2 years, even refrained from calling her mom. She attempted to strike up conversations, but I kept my distance, unsure of how to react. Still, I could see the warmth in her eyes as she smiled at me. As I progressed to high school, I devoted myself to my studies. The school allowed students to go home for lunch, but I preferred to save time and asked my father to bring my lunchbox on his bike. One particularly cold winter during my 3rd year, as snow fell incessantly, I gazed out the window at the thick layer of snow. I wondered if my father would bring my lunch, and as my hunger grew, a classmate approached to tell me that my mom was waiting outside the classroom with my lunchbox. I hurried out to find stepmother, covered in snow. She tried to keep the food inside her body to keep it warm. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I softly called her Mum. Though soft, she heard me, her eyes turning red. It was the first time I had called her Mum. This memory of her back image, walking home in the snow, wearing the scarf I've given her, remains etched in my mind. At times, I accidentally overheard my father discussing softly, suggesting having another child, but stepmother declined. After high school, I attended a teacher's college where my education was covered, yet stepmother continued to send me money every month. She even took me shopping for clothes and proudly introduced me as her daughter, who should always have the best. Upon graduating, I began teaching at a primary school in a different village. One day, out of the blue, my birth mother visited me. She hadn't visited since her remarriage, and her sudden appearance left me shocked. The encounter was awkward, and she shared the hardships she had faced over the years. She recounted her reasons for divorcing my father and asked for my understanding and forgiveness. I struggled to find complete conviction in her words. I had just begun my career, and her visit left me wondering if her timing was connected to my newfound usefulness. She offered me a pouch containing a stack of cash as a contribution to my future dowry. I was taken aback, but after careful consideration, I declined the money, urging her to take care of herself. I felt that accepting it would betray my loyalty to my father and stepmother. Soon after, a colleague introduced me to a man working in the city. He treated me well and knew my family background. He asked about my relationship with my birth mother. I shared about her recent visit and the money she had offered. He advised me that while I could refuse the money, she was still my mother, and I should try to understand her perspective. Before long, my birth mother visited again, bearing dumplings. Coincidentally, my boyfriend was with me, and we eat the dumplings she brought, which is my favorite, cabbage and meat. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Despite the passage of years, she remembered. Our relationship improved from then on, though I kept the details from my father and stepmother, fearing their sadness. My wedding was set for the spring of 1999. In the days leading up to the event, I grappled with a dilemma. Should I have stepmother or my birth mother stand on the stage with me? After consulting my husband-to-be, we both struggled to make a decision. The uncertainty left me without an appetite and struggling to sleep. However, on the eve of my wedding day, stepmother mysteriously vanished. I searched tirelessly, as it became evident that both of them were aware of my birth mother's recent visits. They feigned ignorance, likely concerned that I would find myself in a difficult situation. I found a letter from her, encouraging me to let my birth mother stand on the stage, as she was my biological mother. She emphasized that although our bond was strong, what truly mattered was my happiness. Overwhelmed with emotions, I was torn. I quickly asked my dad where my stepmother might have gone. Dad suggested that she might have gone to her sister's place, since they are close. I promptly rode my bike over. I asked her to follow me home, as she shouldn't miss my wedding tomorrow. On the day of my wedding, both my father and stepmother took the stage, tears of joy glistening in stepmother's eyes. I approached my birth mother and assured her of my filial devotion, and she comforted me, saying that as long as I led a happy life, the rest was inconsequential. This realization dawned on me. I had been blessed with two incredible mothers. During my pregnancy, stepmother came over to care for me, and after giving birth to my son, she continued to support me. My son developed a close bond with her as well. Stepmother's relationship with my father remained strong, and she cared for him deeply. Unfortunately, at the age of 65, my father's health began to deteriorate. He lost weight rapidly, and a hospital visit revealed late-stage liver cancer. Less than a month after the diagnosis, he passed away in the hospital. His death left us all shaken. On the day of his funeral, stepmother fainted multiple times, overwhelmed by grief. After my father's passing, stepmother lived alone in our old house. We visited her weekly, and each time we returned, she stood by the roadside, waiting for us. Observing her frail figure stirred my heart with pain. During one visit, we noticed stepmother limping. When asked, she brushed it off as nothing, despite the visible swelling and pulse in her ankle. She confessed that she didn't want to trouble us. After our meal, she presented us with 9 free-range eggs, a clear example of her selflessness and sacrifice for us. This gesture was a reminder that she had always put us first, while often neglecting her own needs. At that moment, we came to a decision. We began packing her belongings and invited her to stay with us in the city. Stepmother's unwavering love and care had come full circle, and it was our turn to ensure her well-being. Our relationship had crossed the boundaries of blood. It had become a bond of the heart.